Donino of Gull Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas ticket.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Happy Monday, y'all. I hope y'all are having a great week. Welcome to Conroe Culture News. I'm Jess Brassington. I've been guest hosting for the fabulous Margie Taylor this month, and it has been a lot of fun. And hope everyone's getting back into the swing of things, whether you have children in school or you're just adjusting to the new morning routine. I hope that's going well for y'all. So welcome to, like I said, Conroe Culture News. I want to thank the sponsors of this show, Roger Stein Chiropractic. They're at 3303 West Davis. Roger Stein Chiropractic has been voted Best Chiropractic Center in Montgomery County for 4 consecutive years. They treat patients of all ages and backgrounds, from infants to seniors, weekend athletes to professionals, and their focus is on a natural, holistic approach. They want to achieve optimal health, and in addition to relieving pain, Dr. Stacy Rogers holds certifications in adjusting extremities, clinical nutrition, and prenatal and pediatric care. And for new patients, it's only $37, and that is donated to CASA. That is the only cost for your first visit, so be sure to check them out. And we appreciate them sponsoring the show. That's how it makes this possible. And a little bit of some events that are happening. I wanted to share something. I actually have bees. I have a friend who has Brandy Christenberry. She has Agape Farms in Richards. If you haven't been there, adorable place. They have family farm tours and farm tours Fridays at 10 a.m. It's in the Sam Houston National Forest. She let me keep my bees at her place. And this, y'all, is just an example of community. That's what we love about Montgomery County. I had shared with her that I wanted bees, and she was like, sure, you can use a spot on my farm. And I've learned so much. And so there's a place called Winding Creek Bee Supply there in Conroe, and they have free beekeeping education. Every Saturday morning, they have something called Spit and Whittle. Not sure where the spit comes in. I probably should ask them again, but it's probably something about talking and talking about different things. But that's every Saturday, and it's free. They have coffee, donuts, and kolaches. So I just wanted to share that. If y'all haven't been out to the farm or some of the farmers markets, there's also downtown Conroe. They have farmers markets or Saturday, I think it's called it's for small businesses, and it's in downtown Conroe. So I bought little plants from there or different foods there. So check those things out. I know the outdoor home show's coming up in September, September 7th, I believe, that first Saturday. And so welcome to the show, Rebecca Smith. She is with Love Hills Youth. We are friends. You've been on the Mama Bears Rising show. I can't wait for that to come out. So welcome. How are you doing today? And can you share a little bit about Love Hills Youth?
Sure. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I love getting out and talking about what we do. A little bit about Love Hills Youth. We are in 21, or we support 21 different organizations and counting. Hopefully, I'm going to add a couple more here in the next couple of months. We have delivered over 6,000 hours of direct counseling care to our clients. Wow. And that is not just free to the clients, but free to the taxpayers as well, because we don't even bill any insurance or other fee-for-service organizations. We've served almost 600 foster youth in our area. We've delivered over 9,000 articles of clothing, and that's just in a year, what we've delivered to our foster kids that come in, say, with like one shoe or a shirt. So we're really helping to meet those needs and bridge that gap. And we've delivered over 200 welcome home bags. And the welcome home bags are designed to give the kids a duffel bag so that they're no longer traveling in a trash bag, and to give them full-size hygiene products, blanket, a towel, and a few other awesome little items. And so we're really working to meet the needs for the kids on a Maslow's hierarchy of needs model, because we want to make sure that they have the roof over their head, they feel safe, they've got all the essentials that they need, and that's when we see we're able to really start having an impact from a therapeutic standpoint. So we love what we do. It's a volunteer-run organization. There's 0 administrative staff. As the CEO, I'm a volunteer CEO. And so the only real expense we have would be the counselors and paying them for the services that they render to our clients. It's a pretty impressive organization and program, and it's only possible because of this amazing community that we live in.
Yes, and I'm familiar with Love Hills Youth and what you do, and then the more people I meet in the community, I hear your name come up, that Love Hills Youth, more often working in collaboration with these other organizations. So people that I support and bring on this show, while I'm helping Margie, and also definitely, Mama Bears Rising, are people that I personally know, and I see the fruit of the labor. So what you said is so beautiful. So many things are, so much of the dollar is going directly to who you are impacting, versus wasteful things on other things, or some things that are necessary, but with that volunteer component, it allows you to maximize all of that to impact the children. So I can say you really do what you say you do.
Thank you.
And that's important, as we
and
know,
I'm very
right?
proud of that, yes.
And you should be, because that is what, at the end of the day, especially regardless of the economy and how things shift and change, as people's behavior changes with how we spend our dollars, we're going to go to the things that we really know work. And so that is going to get those organizations who are truly doing what they say they're doing, that's going to allow them to stay open and be sustainable. So I love that you're doing that.
Thank you.
And I know that we have several of your family members that I know that go to my friend who was just on the show, actually, I think 2 weeks ago, Jen Rubino at Body Bar Pilates in Wood Forest. She has a setup there for a clothing drive. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure.
For people who aren't aware?
Sure. So the Body Bar in Wood Forest serves 3 generations of my family, my mom, my sister, and my niece. And so they wear their Love Hills Youth shirts up to the Body Bar often, and people ask questions. And so they share a little bit about what we do. And I think that piqued your friend's interest. Yeah. And understanding that we truly serve the population we're maximizing every single penny, because we don't even pay rent. Yeah. But they're doing a clothes drive for our foster kids. And the clothes drive is for our mobile clothes closet. And the mobile clothes closet, the goal for everything that we render was really to remove all of the barriers. And so we provide services. We have kids that come to our office, of course, but we do most of our work at the facilities. And these are modern-day orphanages. They're congregate care facilities. It's not a family setting. And so in doing those services, we decided to do a clothes closet. But the chronic complaint that we hear over and over again is the hardships with transportation. So we decided to take a trailer and turn it into a closet, and then we take it to the shelters or the orphanages, and we let the kids shop till they drop right there on the closet or the trailer. And we have racks that we pull out. So it's a really beautiful setup. And so the Body Bar has been incredible at helping everybody in the community encouraging everybody in the community to bring articles of clothing to donate, especially right now. It's return to school, back to school time. And so our kids are so excited to be able to have something new that's not ragged or stained or torn to wear to school so they can fit in. The other thing they're doing is, I think it was 2% of whatever their sales are for the month, they're going to give back to Love Hills Youth, which I thought it was just a clothes drive. So when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then of course the awareness that they're helping us raise by posting about us on social media. And that's always been one of my biggest goals, is to raise awareness. Most of our kids live in the shadows, and they are forgotten because they're older and they live in these modern day orphanages. And so I want for them to be pulled out of that darkness, for us to be able to shine the light on them and to meet those basic needs. They've never felt like a priority. And as a mom myself, my kids are a priority, and mine are still little. And so they are the number one priority. And our kids that we serve, they've never felt like that. And so that's one of our goals. If we can raise that awareness and get people involved, it's not just about a monetary donation. It's about volunteering your time, or whenever we're having those drives, cleaning out the closet, and bringing those items up there so the kids do feel like a priority. It's pretty incredible.
Yes, and then while you were saying that, I was just thinking your kids are younger. I'm in that next phase of parenting where I have 2 girls out of the home, and I was just sharing earlier that I just left this weekend. You know, I followed one back to San Marcos. She's back in school now as a sophomore, and then my oldest lives in San Antonio. So I'm in that later parenting phase, right, where my youngest just started last week at Lake Creek in 10th grade. So, but being a mom of teens for a while now, especially, you know, this different age, that is just such a tough age as well. So, you know, they say there's like the 0 to 3, and then there's the different stages. They're all important, but to think of, from what I see, just what my girls go through and their friends who have those needs met, you know, and we think a lot of times when we're surrounded by our friends and things like that, it's easy to maybe forget that back to school, like, our kids have what they need and then some, right? Like, my daughter did not need another Stanley Cup or a Walla, whatever thingy, but she got it, you know? So I think it's important for us to think, okay, a lot of these things, not at all meaning our kids don't have things they deal with, but now it's exponentially, you know, put out there when you don't have your basic needs met. And so now imagine having all of those pressures and things of a teen, but then without that. So that just brings me to think too, as children age, especially in these modern day orphanages, you know, it's all those things expanded upon, and then what happens next, you know? And so it's so important to, whatever we can do in these children's lives, to plant those seeds and to show them that love, so that when they go to that next stage of life, they have a little bit more, they're prepared a little bit more.
Right.
So
right. We're trying to till their garden,
yes,
and plant
yes.
those seeds so that one day they can have a beautiful garden that gives them all the nutrients and all the things that they need in order to thrive.
Yeah, because I think you think, you know, or at least I do sometimes, we think, oh, the little kids, you know. But, you know, it's just, I think it's something we just think of. Mm-hmm. But it's like, as they age, there's so many things they have to think about on top of just, you know, how am I going to get through, and then regulating their emotions and everything. Yeah. So,
and it's funny that you say the little kids, because most people think of foster care as being the little bitty ones.
Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how many people I've run into that are like, wait, there's foster kids that are older? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then
a lot.
Rebecca, while we're talking about it and just thinking teens and clothes, just because my kids have worn the same size clothes as me since really middle school, as adults too, when we have things, think of a teen could use that, you
right.
know? So yes, they're a child, but things that are, especially, you know, when we have overabundance, a lot of our stuff isn't used. And I think of this article, and I think it was controversial at the time, but Kristen Welch with Mercy House, she wrote an article years ago called "Stop Giving Your Crap to the Poor." and it's like, yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, it's like, yeah, that there are things, give it in good condition. You know, don't give them,
and nobody
you know,
wants
you wouldn't
to
want your child wearing.
And nobody wants to go pick up trash.
That's right.
And so it's actually a very great article. Whenever I worked for the state in the nonprofit world, that's one of the things that we talked about is people want to donate a couch that's broken, and the mentality is, well, somebody will appreciate it. But even though you're poor, that doesn't mean that you want to collect garbage. It means you still want to have nice things. And so that's one of the reasons we say for the clothing, we would like for it to be very gently used, mm-hmm. Or brand new, because our kids that we serve already feel like an outcast. And so we want to help them fit in just as much as possible. And again, to be a priority.
Yes, I love that. Can you share a little bit about, I know we've talked about it in other platforms, but I think it's really important for people to know. If you want to share a little bit about what we've discussed, the legislation for coming up and how we can support that. And then there's something else I want to ask you after that.
Okay.
So,
I am
So many
so
good things.
excited. Yes, I am so excited to share about the bill that we are filing. It is called the Sound of Hope Act. And we started working on this a couple years ago, actually, but really started getting down into the weeds probably about 6 or 8 months ago. And I'm working with Representative Steve Toth and Senator Brandon Creighton, our local folks. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
So they're going to champion this, hopefully. And as a community, as well as a state, I'm hoping the whole state shows up.
Yeah.
If we show up in numbers, then we'll be able to push it across the finish line. I'm very prayerful for that. And I do believe that God has his hand on this, and
Yes.
here's why. So we started working on this a while back. These are things that I've started. So even though my nonprofit, Love Heals Youth, is new, the work that I do is not. I've been doing that for over 15 years, but I've always funded it out of my own pocket. Now it's become a nonprofit because we've gotten so big I can't afford it anymore. But working with foster care has been something that's very important to me my whole life. And I think God has been preparing me for this moment in time. Well, concurrently, in a little bitty town called Possum Trot, there is just it gives me goosebumps just to think about it. There are amazing things happening out there. A teeny tiny little town. It's actually like if you Google it or go to the maps, you're not even going to be able to find it. But this small little town that's ridden with poverty has adopted over 77 kids. And there's a whole movie about it called Sound of Hope. And to the point where that's how we ended up naming the bill as the Sound of Hope Act. We wanted to name it originally after one of the foster youth that we serve. Her first name is Hope, but we can't name it after a foster youth. And so that's when we figured out we couldn't name it after the foster youth. It was about 2 weeks later that I got a link for the movie, the trailer for it, and like, what are the odds that it's the child's name and the movie, and it's all incorporated right there. And so at the end of the movie, though, on Sound of Hope, not to be a spoiler alert, but the pastor, the bishop, Martin, his name is Bishop Martin, goes to call the CPS worker and says, "We're ready for more children." And she says, "Bishop Martin, we don't have any children that need a home for a 100-mile radius all the way around." Well, I mean, what an inspiring outcome for this little bitty town. If they can do it, who can't? They didn't have the resources. They don't have the financial means. But by gosh, they were able to get in there and take care of these children. And today, I've been so blessed to be connected with not just the town and Bishop Martin, but I've also gotten to know one of the young ladies that was adopted through Possum Trot. Her name is Malaysia, and she's working to become a counselor. So she graduated with her undergrad, is a track star, and is working on her master's degree in counseling. So I'm very hopeful as soon as she's done, we're going to get her here, get her trained, and get her full license after her master's degree, and then send her over to Possum Trot. And I would love for us to be able to have a satellite place there so we can serve that area of Texas. So the bill, the goal of the bill, churches and religious organizations can already be a part of the foster care system. That said, there's so much red tape and bureaucracy that it's next to impossible to attain. And so our idea is to create a path for churches or religious organizations to be able to enter caring for the foster children, to give them that sense of community and that family that they long for. So ideally, we'll be able to serve 0 to 18. We'd be able to, first goal, of course, is always family reunification. Yes. But I don't want for the kids to come into care and then go back to their biological family and then another relationship is severed. So instead, the idea is to bridge that where there is always a connection. And so when biological family needs help or needs resources or some respite, because who doesn't need a break from their children sometimes? Yeah. Then they can activate that relationship. Hopefully it stays activated, but they can activate those resources with that foster family, or we want to call it a faith family, and utilize their resources. Because Majority of the kids in foster care are there due to neglect, and the neglect comes a lot of times from lack of resources. So there's that piece. The other piece is that the congregation would be able to foster and adopt, and so the families would go through the proper training in order to be able to do that. And then the difficult to place kids, another option for the church would be to have a facility, like a modern day orphanage.
Yes.
But it would be have a strong component for volunteers to be active in the care of those children. And then we would still partner the children with a faith family so that they can build that relationship and make that attachment to a family and experience that family dynamic to the point where hopefully that difficult to place child then becomes adopted by that family, so they're no longer having to live out their childhood in an orphanage, because no child needs that or deserves that. They deserve so much more. These are God's children, and we're not treating them like that. So it's time for us to take our children back. The church would become the child placing agency, and everything would be in-house right there for the children. All their needs would be met. There would be stability, consistency, no more moving around, because the kids we serve are moving every 3, 6, 9 months. To stay for 9 months to a year is, it's very rare that we get to work with kids for that long, and that's not right.
Ooh, I love all of that. And so this bill, the main purpose of that is to make the process, can you share a little bit about that? What will that do? It'll make the process a little bit easier, or, how is that going to get to that piece?
So the foster care system is pretty broken, and instead of trying to amend it or put a Band-Aid on it, we decided that this path would serve the purpose of that community-based care that we're supposed to be moving into, and that was legislated, 10 or 12 years ago, and so they've been working to roll that out through the state of Texas, but we're still, I think, maybe halfway done with rolling that out. And so the idea was to have the kids being able to stay closer to home, and have the folks in the community care for the children. So we're taking that idea of the community-based care and shrinking it to the congregation, because unfortunately what's happening with the community-based care is we've got people from other areas that are doing the CBC work, community-based care, and they're not actually from that area. And so you just have to be a resident of Texas to be able to apply for that particular, which is great. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I hope and pray that it serves its purpose in trying to keep kids close to home. But we still have kids, like our foster care numbers here in Montgomery County are like, they usually stay between 400 and 500 kids here. But the kids that are our cases here in the county are usually around 200 to 300, and only a third of those kids stay here close to home. The other 2/3 are moved out. So the numbers that we have that are so high are from other areas brought into our county. And so ideally, we want to keep the kids closer to home. And here's why. If I have been removed from my family and they place me, and I'm from Conroe, and they place me up in Amarillo, well, what are the odds? If you know that the resources and financial means are already suffering with my biological family, what are the odds that my biological family is going to be able to afford transportation to come see me in Amarillo? And I should still have visits and contact with my biological family.
Yes.
Well, I can't make it up. The mom or the dad can't make it up there. And so what ends up happening is they're going to blame the state for that broken or severed relationship. And if that if those parental rights need to be terminated, well, the kids aren't going to be able to experience the truth of what's going on in that relationship, because we're just going to want to blame the state, because that's what we want to do. No one wants to think I'm broken or my family's broken. No one wants to think that. They want to believe that I am good enough and my parents are going to get better. And so it's important that we keep kids close to home for that reason, if that relationship does have to be severed. But we really want to keep them close to home because we want them to go home. We want them to be back with their family, because that's where you're going to be able to thrive and do your best if we can heal the brokenness within that family. So that's the goal.
Oh, and I think that's important so this is your world, and I think a lot of times and I have to do this as whether it's holistic health or different things I've learned since Mama Bear's Rising, I have to back out and think, okay, some people still don't know to read a food label. Some people still don't understand. I'm still learning so much of how the government and all that works, but the different laws. But that's important to point out. Like, I don't even know that works that way. So there's so many things as well that if we don't know that intimately how that works, I didn't even realize that kids would be sent somewhere else. But when you're saying that, something that comes to mind is not only are you away from your parents, but now your school. What if you had a teacher that really spoke life into you, or coaches or mentors or an aunt or a neighbor? So now I'm just thinking of all those relationships that are severed, and now it's going to be much harder for them to go visit you when you're in Amarillo versus Conroe. So there's so much of a ripple effect in a positive or negative way that this could have depending on that. So that really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like the kids, working with the foster youth for almost 20 years myself, it's almost like the kids are the ones being punished for their parents' mistakes.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are put into isolated areas, pulled away from everything that they know. And sometimes they go from being abused by family to being abused by strangers. It's wrong. And so if we're able to create that path for churches to take these kids in and keep them close to home, then they get that sense of family. The community is truly taking care of them because it's the church congregation that's pouring love into them, and then making sure that they stay connected to their family. But how powerful for the children to be able to see, and they don't have to conform to the religious beliefs or go to the church or whatever, but how valuable is it for the kids, how powerful, for the kids to be able to see God's love activated through the church as the church is then pouring into their family to heal the family so the kids can go home and experience the life that they need and deserve. So I think there are just so many facets of this bill that are just unbelievable, and we are going to make history. We're at a time right now where other states are filing to keep Christians and churches out of being able to serve foster youth for various reasons. Texas is the very first state that is working to file this bill, and it's become a priority bill. So I've been talking with Legislative Council last week as well. And so they'll have the bill finished pretty soon. But we're the first state to make the way for filing a bill specifically for Christians and churches to have a special path to serve the kids.
And that's something too that I've talked about since starting Mama Bears Rising, when I was so clueless, and I share this openly. It's embarrassing to say, but it is what it is. I didn't know Commissioner's Court or what a county judge. I didn't really understand that. But when I met Representative Toth and then Senator Creighton, I've gotten to see that they really do listen to our community and what we're saying that we want and the standards that we have in Montgomery County, which is one of the many, many reasons I love living here. And I advocate for very similar, like you said, having people from that area helping these children. Well, having representatives that live here, they're in our backyard, they're affected by these things, and they know us by name or different things. So I love that about Montgomery County. And also, when you're saying that too, okay, now you've made a support structure for those helping care for these children as well. Because if you're in a community with other people, you're less likely to feel isolated when you have a foster child and you're struggling, or you don't know, the answer, or you need a respite. Now you've got connections and people that they're invested in this child, and they're looking at this child as a whole, not just one piece, but his or her, interest or activities in their classes. So I just believe that it's so important, like so many things here, dig your roots deep where you're at. And then if you need to go outward, okay, but let's look here first. Right. Let's keep it as close as we can and help everyone in that who's involved in that. And I love that also reunification is the first, and foremost. And then not just abandoning those parents either, or telling that child your parents this or that, but okay, well let's work, hopefully work to get them back to that. So just the love throughout all of that is, I think, so beneficial for them.
Absolutely.
And love heals youth.
Love heals youth. Well, there's nothing more transformative than love.
That's right.
We can all heal through the power of love.
Yeah. Woo. Well, I love that. So how can people get involved? It sounds like there's several ways. And Also, I want to say we've talked before when we first met a couple, like, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, about for counselors as well. Can't they do something? Are you still doing that where they can get the hours and things like that? So from all different facets, I think.
Yeah. So if you want to get involved, you can just go to our website, www.lovehillsyouth.com.
Okay.
And there's an opportunity to fill out a form to become a volunteer. We also have a little bit about our movement, the Sound of Hope movement. We have our concert. It's our second annual fall concert coming up. It'll be November 3rd at the table at Madeley over here in downtown Conroe. And we're going to have 3 headliners that'll perform, and then we'll have 3 young artists that are going to be selected from the retreat that Peyton Riley is hosting in October.
Yeah, I saw that.
So it's going to be a great opportunity. The general admission will be free, and we will have foster youth there, because why would we have an event and not have those that this is for attend? And so we were able to have about 50 foster youth come last year, and I'm hoping we can have even more than that this year. But we do need sponsors to help cover the costs. And, of course, we don't have any grants or anything like that. We don't do any federal grants. So we really function off of the community being involved to serve these children. But it'll be November the 3rd. It's a Sunday. And then we'll have our gala, which is January 24th. And there's information on our website right now for the concert. By the end of the week, there will be information for the gala. And then one of the most important days is going to be February 25th of 2025. We want to see everybody in Austin. That's you.
Yeah.
So come out there and join us so we can get this bill pushed across the finish line so we can finally take care of these kids just as God anointed us to do.
I love that. And so when I'm thinking too, and Rebecca and Love Hills Youth will be one of the resources on the Mama Bears Rising app. That will be out next month. But I'm thinking, like, make it a fun thing. Make it a girls' trip or family trip, whatever it is. And maybe we can even start, is there somewhere where people can start signing up and to get all the information? And then we can maybe either carpool together and just make it something that, because it is. We want to go and we want to share our voice and help the children in our community. But I know for me anyways, when I started getting involved with legislation and different things like that, I was overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know where to go. So I think just having people go with us and make it, we're going together for this common cause and make it a fun thing. You have enough time to start planning ahead, in February. So yeah, if they can go sign up, is there somewhere there where they can be put on a list for all the info for, that where to stay? I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Right now, I've just got a form that you can fill out, and it's just your basic information. And then once we get some more things solidified, if I have everybody's contact information, email and phone number, then as we get things solidified, then I'll be able to send updates to your email or your phone number. For places to stay. I know churches are talking about coming together and getting buses, chartering buses so they can take mass groups of people out there all together and just make it a day trip.
Yeah.
So I'll be posting all of that on that page on our website. And in addition to, I'll be able to send out messages if I've got your contact information.
And now, when we met last time, you said there was a certain number in mind, right? Do you have to share that?
Yes.
I remember this time in May of last year when I was on Margie's show, I shared some things out loud and said it, and it was neat this year to see some of it come to fruition. So do you want to share that?
Yes. So my original goal was to get 1,000 people to the state capitol. Once the movie came out, Sound of Hope, I said, why are we shooting for 1,000? We need to go for 10,000.
Yes.
And we owe it to these kids.
That's right.
They are a ward of the state, but the government should not be raising children. And so we are technically, since we're the taxpayers, we're the parents. We're the ones paying child support through our taxes. So we need to be there. We need to show up for these kids. We cannot be deadbeats. We've got to show up for these kids. So my goal is 10,000.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
I believe we can do it. And this is going to be huge for not only these children, but for Texas to lead the way.
Yes.
And it's so important for us to continue with our resources to take a stand. And especially as believers, I'm a Christian as well. We cannot just sit on the sidelines.
No.
We need to we need to stand up and we need to take care of those that don't have a voice and that can't do that for themselves. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for all that you do, for everything you sacrificed, and just for your heart and for the community and these kids. And thank you for being on here. All right, we'll be back.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for a summer internship, Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to learn the radio and TV business. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world.
Conroe Culture News is sponsored by Roger Stein Chiropractic. Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers, has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County for lower back pain, migraines, whiplash, sciatica, sports injuries, herniated discs, headaches, and complications from pregnancy. For more information about today's sponsor, Roger Stein Chiropractic, they can be called at 936-441-9990 or go online to rogersteinchiropractic.com. New patients pay only $37 with all proceeds.
A Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Second Saturday Divorce Workshop provides unbiased information to help you understand your options and move forward with your life. This divorce workshop is for you if you are contemplating divorce, in the process of divorce, already filed for divorce, or post-divorce. You will explore the emotional, legal, and financial aspects of divorce from professionals who have guided others through divorce. For more information on this divorce workshop, contact secondsaturdaywoodlands.com or call 832-375-0900.
Every Friday, tune into Texas Ticket on Conroe's 104.5 and 106.1 FM with Armando Nino of Gold Lake Conroe, focusing on Montgomery County area events and places. Get a feel of the Texas spirit at the event, paired with guest and vendor interviews, event coverage, and ticket giveaways, and so much more. Join us Fridays and punch your Texas Ticket. For more information on the show, visit irlonestar.com/Texas Ticket.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
All right, y'all, we are back. Conroe Culture News, sponsored by Roger Stein Chiropractic. And we are back with another Rebecca, Becca Cary with Hands of Justice.
Yes.
We met, gosh.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute or two or three or five now, but they are right here in Conroe. Just like Rebecca Smith, Becca actually puts her money where her mouth is and makes an impact in the lives of those that she serves. So can you share a little bit about Hands of Justice for those who are not familiar?
Yeah. We are a survivor-led anti-trafficking nonprofit organization that helps or really kind of focuses on helping with economic empowerment for anybody after they have been trafficked. So man, woman, or child, and family members. And we help provide anywhere from awareness, outreach, survivor-led scholarships, trauma therapy, advocacy, case management, and support groups. So ongoing supportive services to these men and women.
Yes, and so when we met, and now I'm trying to think of how we met. I can't remember now. So many good things have happened since then, but I didn't realize that you were in Conroe, and then you had your building, you had your location there, and that was one of the things that really attracted me to Hands of Justice, because I could actually see the fruit of the labor.
Right.
You know, I could see the people, the lives that were impacted. And there's a time and place for different things. But for me, it's important that when I give of my time and my money or my energy, that I know that it is truly making an impact.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that is so great, I think, about Hands of Justice is, like you said, it's survivor overcomer led.
Yeah.
And so I liken that a lot to, even though they're very different things, but I've shared before, losing my brother, he was a veteran, to combat PTSD suicide, and I've had Camp Hope. He's on the Mama Bear Rising show, where my brother was going to go. They are combat veteran led, peer to peer.
It makes a difference, and people don't think it does, but every single one of my employees is an overcomer. Our support group leaders are overcomer led, and it's just like these men and women can come to this center and not have to say a thing, and we already get it. And sometimes a lot of other organizations, I'm not saying this is bad, but they will ask them to constantly repeat their trauma, and I'm like, it's not necessary to do that. Actually, that can be very, very exploitative.
Yes.
So honestly, just having somebody who gets it without having to say a word, and we just walk alongside them and help navigate where we've been ourselves. So that does make a difference.
Yeah, I like that. And then also, can you share a little bit about the different components of what you have there and how we can support that, whether it's your, and also you can probably preface with, you did have damage to your location.
Yeah, we sure did.
A lot of damage. So if you want to share, and then we can talk a little bit about that and maybe how we can support there, but like the shop, and then you have, you know, I've even gone to Nikki there as one of the counselors. So there are a lot of things that you offer as well.
We are one of the only organizations that actually offers the things that we do, the way that we do it. So yeah, we partner with Breakthrough Counselors, which had 4 counselors in our center, and they're trauma informed, and they work specifically with like veterans as well as survivors. They use a specific kind of therapy that works best with that kind of clientele. So if they need therapists, we have them there, but we help pay for that as well, because again, money right now for everybody is slim, and so to come out of that and still be just even working towards getting a job, how are you going to afford therapy? But the therapy for these clients is crucial for their healing. So we provide that. The scholarships, we're one of the only ones nationwide that provides scholarships specific for trafficking survivors, as well as the support groups. We're one of the only ones nationwide, which I find weird, because there's support groups for everything else, everywhere else, but not this particular thing. So the scholarships, it's really to help, because this particular clientele, a lot of them will come out of their life with misdemeanors or felonies on their record, and then they're not able to get grants or scholarships or even loans to go to college. So how are they going to better their life if that's the way they choose to go when they can't afford it? So just coming in and helping them, and then also walking alongside through the whole registration process, which can be overwhelming for anybody, right? But let alone somebody who's survived trauma. So we help them with that. Survivor advocacy basically is providing someone like Katrina to step in and say, I am your person that is going to walk along with you through court dates, through hospital visits, through dealing with the legal system, to dealing with getting food stamps and finding a place to live, you know, all of the overwhelming things that they just need help with. That's what they do. And then I provide case management, which really just draws up a safety plan for them and looking at their specific needs and saying, this is what you need help with, this is what we can help you with, this is what we can't help you with, but we can refer you out to people who do. So collaboration is a huge part of what we do with other entities that don't provide what we do.
Yeah. And I think, and I shared with Rebecca earlier, and I know that a few of my kids. So two of my girls are, the one's 20, one just turned 19, then I have a 15-year-old. And even just seeing the change as they transition, they still financially have my support, but all these things you're thinking, I'm thinking, okay, that's a lot for someone to start thinking about all these things. And that's without someone that has trauma.
Correct.
So now you add that. I mean, my goodness, there were several friends of one of my daughters that they didn't get into a certain college, but it's because they didn't do the registration right.
Right.
So thinking of those things, but it's exponentially harder or more difficult with that. So to have someone, and maybe they've never even learned what that is.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of all the things now when I was back in my 20s, on my own apartment where like, oh wait, I have to pay for rent on my own.
Right.
Like everything seems so much more
Yes.
expensive.
Yeah.
And then even to now, I'm thinking, I don't know I know they changed something with the car. It's like your inspection and then your registration.
Yeah.
And now it's together. And then you go here. Whereas my husband used to do that for me. I'm starting to learn those things. And
Correct.
so those are things that are just coming to my mind as we talk about this that I think it might just fall through the cracks because there's not
does.
someone there teaching it.
Yeah. And honestly, just 7 years ago is when I self-identified. And that's when I started looking for services for myself. There was nothing unless you wanted to go into a residential facility. And a residential, let me just put it in perspective. I was doing this morning. There's 2,400 beds nationwide. Right here in the state of Texas, there's 313,000 victims. So majority of these men and women aren't going into residential programs. So the future looks like centers like ours that cater to men, women, and children of all ages, no matter how old they are, no matter how young they are, no matter what their needs are. And just saying, we're going to look at your individual story, your individual needs, and go from there. Instead of saying, well, you don't fit this little black and white box, so we can't help you, which unfortunately is what a lot of people do. Because human trafficking is so complex. It happens so differently to every single person. You can't do that. You cannot put it in that box, or you're not helping the very people that need it. So that's the difference with a lot of places like this now that are catering towards, let's do it on your terms and your life and allow you to continue to live the way that you want to live, but help navigate what you need at the same time. And allow them to do it, not us.
And not assuming that there's certain things they want help with.
Correct.
Maybe they don't.
Exactly.
And then also not assuming there are things that they don't want help with.
Yeah.
So let me offer all of this to you. You decide.
Correct.
Because it seems like so much has been taken already out of their control.
Yeah.
And so to be able to give that back to them and also say, now you're not just going to be given everything, there's give and take, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that was something, I can only speak for myself, but when I started just financially supporting organizations, and then I started giving them my time and then meeting like you and meeting other people, and then understanding, whoa, this is not what I thought it was. And it is very complex, and it can be overwhelming or scary for someone who doesn't know anything. And I remember me going back when I first started, gosh, it's probably 8 years ago now, but not wanting to mess up, not wanting to say the wrong thing. And then I'm like, but I encourage people that are listening or watching, don't allow that to stop you.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people that can use something that you have, whether it is your time, your money, and to just do something.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, our center, which was located on 105, during Hurricane Beryl, the roof literally was taken off and destroyed our center. Our particular suite is gutted right now. So we're kind of displaced, but the good thing about, well, if there is a good thing about that, but the good thing about what we do is we can do a lot of it out in the field, which we much rather would anyways.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of our clientels are coming from Houston, it's hard for them to get to physically there anyway.
Again. Yeah.
And we've been, the community, Conroe community has been great about supporting us and giving us temporary spots and stuff until this is rebuilt or we find another place. But right now, the things that we need the most are financial assistance, which, and I hate asking for money. I do, because I get it. People have their own stuff to worry about. But I don't think people realize that if we don't have the community helping us, a lot of these nonprofits will never make it or be able to continue to make it and help these people, because that's how we fund this, is through the community, 100%. You know, we have a couple of grants here and there, but it's about 100% of the community that helps us.
Well, I love the work that you're doing. I know I've seen the impacts firsthand. Let everyone know how they can go to find out more. And then you also have a book that you just came out with. So can you share that? And then,
So our website's handsofjustice.org. If you have a client or somebody you know that might need help, there's a referral button. You can refer them to us. If you want to volunteer, there's a volunteer section. You can come and volunteer. You have to go through a 4-hour training in order to volunteer and in any capacity. And then the other thing is, I think a lot of the general public, they think that when they're volunteering, they get to go and do one-on-one with a survivor. That doesn't work that way, mostly because it's confidentiality.
Yes.
But there are a lot of different areas that they can help with.
Okay.
So just finding out what that is by coming to the 101. And then the other thing our book. So in 2022, we came out with the first book, which volume 1, and it's just a compilation of 20 overcomer stories from across the nation. We paired it up with a local artist who took their stories and painted it, which is amazing in itself, because every single one of the overcomers in the books got that painting, and they got to see it's a story of hope. Every one of them. Sorry, I'm stumbling on my words. They get to see those paintings though and realize they're depicted in such a wonderful way, an honoring way for these survivors.
I have one from your gala the last time.
Well, that's the first one if you want me to pull it. But it also has educational pieces in it from every story. And the point of it is every one of those stories looks different. Yeah. So if it's human trafficking within like pornography, we're going to touch on the educational facts of that. So every chapter is different. The second volume just came out in June, and we just had our book signing on Saturday of this past week. Okay. Both of these books are used in the curriculum now at Victim Studies Department at Sam Houston State University.
That's so good.
It's so nice,
Well, thank you, Rebecca, for everything that you're doing. Thanks. Y'all go check out Hands of Justice. Let's support them. And thank you for joining us for another Conroe Culture News. Thank you to Roger Stein Chiropractic, and we'll see you next week.